Last night, how many of you checked your phone for work messages? Maybe once, maybe twice. A couple of hands there. Here's the real question. Did you do it because it was necessary, or because you've taught people that you're available 24/7? Good morning, my fellow Toastmasters, and welcome to our guests. This morning, I want to talk to you about two things: boundaries and personal standards. Not as rules that we impose on others, but the choices we make about our own availability. In 1985, I was 6 years old. Just arrived in New Zealand. I didn't speak a word of English. I was this little brown girl in a very small Pākehā town, Cambridge Primary School. I went to school, and I was the older one out. Of course, I got picked on. The name calling, the laughing, pointing. I didn't understand a word of it, but I knew what was going on. Now, one day, I remember very vividly, there were a group of kids surrounding me in a circle. I was in the middle, getting picked on, getting laughed at. And I was so sick and tired of being picked on at that moment in time, and I was so frustrated. And I picked the biggest boy in the class, Brendan was his name, and I punched him and I kicked him until he'd had enough. And you know what? That day, the bullying stopped. I learned a really important lesson that day, and boundaries, setting boundaries. In retrospect, I realised that at that moment in time, I was showing people how I wanted to be treated and what I didn't tolerate. Just wondering where I'm at. Here we go. Having healthy boundaries is an inside job. We often think about boundaries as about putting restrictions on others or telling others what to do. But in actual fact, it's about deciding when you're available, and particularly also what you tolerate. Your own personal boundaries, they're the foundations, they're your baseline. How you expect to be treated is one, but also how you treat yourself and how you manage your time. How you recover, how you work, how you play. Without clear personal standards, those boundaries become inconsistent and they become emotional. And also they consume your energy. With standards, your boundaries become calm and they become predictable. As leaders, and we're all leaders of teams, we're leaders of families, we're leaders at home, at work. But leaders who are clear on their standards make better decisions with less guilt and less explanation, or preferably no guilt and no explanation, because guilt and explanation are simply noise. And what people don't like in terms of looking up to someone or being inspired by someone is noise, because noise dilutes. Like I said, boundaries not about being restrictive. They're about managing your energy. Time is fixed. Energy is not. When leaders allow constant disruption, after hours communication, or meetings with no purpose, all it does is it drains your energy. And I'm an advocate for self-leadership, and it certainly doesn't take away from what Genevieve mentioned this morning. If you feel that you need support, and for whatever reason, seek that support. However, on a general basis, self-leadership is where it starts. And I have to be if I choose to make a career out of being an entrepreneur. But I notice when I block out time to complete complex tasks, I get shit done. Or when I stack when I stack tasks that require the same brain power, I get shit done. When I don't allow myself to get distracted by my phone, or I think, I'll just hang up the washing, or check my emails when I should be completing one of those complex tasks. That's when I get shit done. Protecting your energy leads to better focus. It leads to making better decisions, and it makes for a sustainable and more enjoyable day. Normalising not having meetings when you should be dedicating time for those complex tasks. Or dedicating time perhaps when your energy is low, your thinking power is low, and you'd rather connect with someone. Those decisions are leadership skills. They're not luxuries. Deciding to have that lunch breaks, to have a lunch break away from your computer, that's a leadership skill, not a luxury. Protecting your energy, So what does that mean for you when you're leading your team, you're at work, you're at home, your family? Your behaviour and your actions set the tone. And if you tell me that boundaries matter to you, but your actions show otherwise, then it dilutes your message. Your message is lost in effect. When you model healthy behaviour, when you model healthy boundaries with consistency and respect, you set the standard for yourself, and you also give others the permission to do so also. That improves trust, it reduces the chance of burnout, and it enhances your performance. I want to emphasise that they're not walls. Boundaries aren't walls, they're signals. They show what you value, what you expect from yourself, from others. And they make work and life more enjoyable, more sustainable. So here's the question I want to leave with you. If someone were to follow you for a month, for 30 days, follow your behaviour, not your words, but your behaviour, would you inspire? Or would you be proud of what you're teaching? Thank you very much.